Happy Manga Monday, everyone! And today we're back to the tier list ranking. We are ranking every complete series I read in the year of 2024. I honestly do not think I am going to be completing any more. If I do happen to at the end, I will just have to add it on to next year's if this video does well and people want to see more of this type of wrap up. But I just thought it'd be a really fun way to share with you all what I read this year and how I felt about everything, because I didn't get a chance to always, have a video perfectly timed that I could then talk about it, or to make a video just about it because there wasn't enough, I felt like, to say about it. So yeah, I just thought this might be fun. And again, if you like the video, please do hit the thumbs up, comment below what series you completed this year or any on my list that you now want to maybe check out, because I, always love to inspire more bad financial decisions for everyone. Oh my gosh, but seriously. This is just going to be a casual, fun video going over the 26 series I completed. These are only series that have 3 or more volumes. I toyed with the idea of adding the duologies, series of just 2 volumes, but it was complicated. There was series that weren't really marked as 1 and 2, but were, obviously together. It just, it got annoying when I thought about adding it. I already have 26 3-volume or more series that I completed, so I'm just going to focus on those. And most of the 2-volume series, I hate to say it, are A if they're lucky, but mostly B and F, because 2 volumes is short and hard to really connect with me a lot of the times. So all that out of the way. So here is my rankings. We have the S tier, and that is my 100% would read again tier. So for me, that's the highest marking of something. Not necessarily would I say this is like a 10 out of 10, an amazing manga. And so I will preface which ones I think are well done, and I really, really love them, and which ones I just really, really loved, so I would read them again. But most of them honestly were really, really good. I'd recommend. They're solid. They're just great, like, reads in general. But everyone has their guilty pleasures. And this is my ranking video, so next tier is like the A tier, and that's super solid. These I would recommend to people to read. I don't have any major complaints with them. They just weren't my favorites. There was just something about them that made it a step down below the S tier. And then we have our B or C tier, really. I don't know. I only have 4 tiers in this one, so. But this is the enjoyed, but overall, it's just okay. I wouldn't necessarily recommend these. There's something that's either missing or feeling very unfinished about these series, and while I personally enjoyed my time with them, I don't think they're worth going out of your way, so to speak, and checking them out. But if you do, happen to have them in your collection, or you are still interested based on like what I have to say about them, they were fun reads for me, so I don't think they're bad. However, that leads us to what I would essentially be the D or F tier, the bottom of the barrel tier. And these are the ones I recommend you skip and are not worth your time. However, huge caveat, as always, this is my opinion, okay? I always say this in my video because I don't ever want anyone to feel hurt if one of their favorite manga is in this tier, because all things entertainment, art, they're all subjective, right? We all have our things that we love and things that we don't love, things that turn us off, things that just work for us in inexplicable ways. And if one of these in this tier worked for you, I am happy for you. I really am. Like, I wish every manga that I read, that you read, that we all read was perfect 100% of the time. We loved it. It's just not the case with anything, really. It's not realistic. They're not going to hit every time for every person. And yeah, but I always have to say that little caveat just in case you do love a series on my don't bother picking it up tier, because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. It is just my opinion. And I don't like being negative, but I really didn't like these series, I gotta say. And with that, let's get going. I'm not going to do huge recaps of the series. This is more just vibe checks. So obviously you can Google, you can look on Amazon and get a nice little summary. I might go into them here or there, but just in general, just so you know, these are more just my views, my opinions, and what I thought of them. So I broke it up into the series that I finished first, and then going into the rest of the series that I completely read in this year, the year of 2024. So, and the rest are in no particular order, by the way. But the first 5, I did technically start them in 2023 or earlier. Like, some of them I was reading them as they came out and then waited and then read it, the rest of it, you know, this year. Or I just was slowly reading it from last year to this year, or reading them as they released and they didn't release the final volume until this year. Yeah, all those variables. But yeah, these are the first ones that I put on here, just so you know, full transparency. I didn't read the entirety of all these series in 2024. Okay, so first up, we have Soloist in a Cage. This is a 3-volume series, short, sweet, and dark, honestly, but beautiful and full of hope and just great read. Just, it's, oh my God, I loved it so much. And though it's only 3 volumes, I thought it did a really solid all-around job. It had a succinct story it wanted to tell, and it did it with flying colors, in my opinion, and I will be placing it in the 100% will reread again S tier. It is one I think more people should definitely read. I just don't hear enough about it. And frankly, I think that's a shame, because it's just a really good action and intrigue and drama and emotional short series. But yeah, the 3rd volume didn't come out until January this year, and I discovered it in December of last year. So I didn't get to finish it until this year, but I did only read 1 volume this year of it, in all honesty. Next up, we have Attack on Titan. So I had finished the anime. That is the way I wanted to finish Attack on Titan, because I started by watching season 1 of the anime back in college. It was the start of a rejuvenation and love of anime for me, when I had kind of put it on the back burner during high school and was like, it's for kids. Now look at me, 30 years old, and has a YouTube channel about manga and anime. Oh boy. Anyway, so I started Attack on Titan, I think in November of 2023, if I'm correct. I was very slowly reading it. Holidays, I never tend to read that much. And then I finished it all up, which I think was the majority of the 34 volumes. And of course, it is in my S tier, 100% recommend, 100% would read it again. I loved it. I loved the anime and I love the manga equally. I mean, the anime slightly because of the music, the soundtrack, and the action scenes, just animated so wonderful. But the manga hit all of the same notes, made me feel all the same feelings, and honestly, like, made me bawl like a baby too. So like, they're both great. I highly recommend Attack on Titan if you have not watched or read it. Next up, and going 3 for 3 in the 100% would reread it and recommend it category, is Alice in Borderland. I did make a video all about Alice in Borderland, gushing about it and my feelings compared to the live action drama, which I also watched. Yeah, that video did not do well, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't know that it was that good, but the reason I made it and my continued feelings is that people should really read this series. It is good. It is dark, horror elements, psychologically dark, with a lot of death. However, it's a survival game type story that is really well done and not just for the gore. There feels like there's an actual meaning or a deeper purpose for writing it and going through these death-defying games. And this is complete in 18 volumes for its original release, but in America anyway, it was released as omnibuses, and so it's 9 omnibus volumes. So yeah, it has my heart. I 100% love this one. And that leads us sadly to J.K. Haru is a sex worker in another world. I so badly want to put this in S tier. I know I technically will probably reread it, or at least like reread the beginning of it. However, I cannot put it in S tier, even though it's my list and I do what I want. I don't think it deserves to be in S tier, just frankly because of how it ended. I do talk about this one in my disappointed series. I'll put it right here so you know what it's called if you want to check it out after this video or something. But that last volume really just did a number on me. I would say 1 through 6 was 5 stars easily, like would be an S tier. The 7th volume unfortunately knocked it down to enjoyed, but overall just okay. I hate to say that about my baby J.K. Haru, but that ending was so unsatisfying. I'm sorry. I do think if you like isekai and you want like a darker one and more mature one, I guess, this one is interesting and it's different. Just do not expect a satisfying conclusion. Just go along for the ride and keep your expectations down. That's all I got to say. And last of the ones that I finished in 2024, we have The Horizon, which actually is a manhwa. I believe it's from Korea. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is complete at 3 volumes. And I also talk about Horizon in a video this year of short series that emotionally wrecked me. This is a good read. Don't get me wrong, and that's why it's going into my S tier. 100% will read this again. I like to emotionally devastate myself every once in a while, okay? So once the more distinct memories of it fade and I'm left with just a feeling of, oh, that's gonna be a sad time, I will probably revisit it. I love revisiting series that I know hit me emotionally and were just overall really solid. But yeah, that's a gut punch of a series, but a good one nonetheless. And next we have A School Frozen in Time. And I read the first volume actually for my series on here, reviewing first volumes. I'm reviewing 12 first volumes of Christmas, and I'm doing it as a challenge. You could screenshot right here. These are all the prompts. If you want to go over on my Instagram and join, and just make sure you tag me so I can see what you are reading. It's been so fun to see what everyone has picked and is starting to read. So yeah, there's a multitude of ways to join in, and I talk about the first volume of A School Frozen in Time in that video if you want to hear my thoughts more in depth about the first volume and the premise. But overall, I'm putting this one in super solid. I had a really good time with it. It gripped me from the jump. I think if it had just like, I'm being really nitpicky, but like just like one more volume to give us, to flesh out the 8 characters even more, because 8's a lot to juggle in 4 volumes, and they did a pretty good job about it. I just think if a little bit more fleshing out of the characters, and maybe more especially of their interactions with each other in the past and in the present, would have bumped it up just that little bit to an S tier for me. It's very close though. I had a really nice time reading this, and I enjoyed it overall. I gotta say, I just, again, I did nitpicky, just a little nitpicky about it. Definitely dark subject matter that it is talking about and focusing on, like the focal point of it, and just, but I just found it very intriguing and very gripping all the way through. So yeah, I had a good time with it. Next up, we have Nameless, Asterism. I do talk about this in a video back in June, but I loved this series. It is a 5-volume series, and it's just focused on a small chunk of these kids' lives, dealing with coming of age and crushes and friendship, and it's LGBTQ plus representation in it, and I just overall thought it was really good. Did I say yet that it gets to be in my S tier? It's 100% reread. I 100% recommend it. It's just really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It gave me the feels, and it also made me really happy in the end. So we'll go from that high to Bond of Dreams, Bond of Love. This 4-volume BL was a huge disappointment for me. Let's just get it out of the way, rip the bandage off. It is the first entry into our skip it. It's not worth your time tier. It, I think, would have just been a fine whatever BL. But hear me out. Before this, previously, had read Hide and Seek by the same mangaka. I did not realize necessarily that it was by the same mangaka until I started reading Bond of Dreams, Bond of Love, and recognized one of the characters at like a side character, and I was like, isn't that the guy from Hide and Seek? Hide and Seek is one of my favorite BL. I really, really stinking love Hide and Seek. So I was like so excited. I was like, oh my god, another offering from this mangaka. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. And the story was just, it was just a nothing pile of nothingness with a horrible age gap that, I mean, it's whatever. It's fiction. I can overlook it. But it just, like, I didn't even really feel the chemistry. I didn't even really feel that the older guy really, really ever began to actually like this little kid, because he always treats him like a little kid. I don't know, like, age gaps are one that's very hit or miss for me, and I just have to like Minato's Laundromat. I think that's an age gap done well and has building tension and the back and forth and the pursuing from the younger guy, which that's all in Bond of Dreams, Bond of Love as well. It's just, to me personally, done way, way, way worse and weaker, and just overall nothing sauce. Like it just, yeah, it did not excite me, did not compel me. Overall, just did not have a great time. I pushed myself to complete it, but like by finishing like the second volume, I was like, this is no hide and seek. Anyway, moving on from that trash. No, sorry. If you liked it, I'm glad you liked it. But moving on, we have Pleasure and Corruption. This is complete in 6 volumes, and they are 6 steamy, kinky, whoa, what the heck am I reading volumes? Let me just tell you that. I do talk about it in a March video. This video, if you want to check it out, is a very embarrassing video for me because it's like a little weird. Put myself out there in like a really weird way. But all that to say, I really liked Pleasure and Corruption. It's so fucking weird. This is the first one I was genuinely torn with, by the way. Like, I know J.K. Haru I wanted to put higher, but I really feel like that's where it belongs, even for me, having loved the first 6 volumes so much. But this one I was genuinely torn. I do think it belongs in the super solid category. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's overall just a good, weird, explicit time. However, I 100% will reread this one. I know myself, and I freaking love it. Like, it's just the right amount of weird assery for me. So personally, it's going the S tier because my dumbass is making this tier list, so my dumbass gets to put it where I want it. and I want to invest. Oh my god. Let's just quickly move on now. Next up, we have Yakuza in Love. This is a 3-volume BL. It is, you know, it's Yakuza in Love. So you get the Yakuza, the violence, you get the kind of not 100% kosher interactions and way of doing things. If you know, you know, like consent is a question mark rather than a period. All that to say, I really enjoyed it. It's not okay in real life. In fiction, will allow some of it sometimes if it's done well. And even though this was old yaoi, it's definitely dated in some aspects. It felt a little rushed, the 3rd volume, for me personally. I wouldn't say this is my favorite Yakuza read even of BL. However, I will safely put it in the enjoyed but overall just okay category. I really enjoyed myself with it. I'm a thirsty girl and I was just slurping it up. Why that analogy had to... I was not... Okay. Anywho, let's move on to another Yakuza title, Jealousy. And this is a 5-volume BL, and it is going in the S tier. 100% would reread it, 100% recommend it. This is a really surprising. It surprised the ever-loving shit out of me that I loved it so much. I can't even quantify to you why I love it so much. Again, it could possibly realistically be in the super solid category, but every volume was 5 stars out of 5 for me. I got really invested, and this weird character being taken in by this weird Yakuza boss, and it's a little bit dark, blurring the line of what is okay, and you know, it's definitely for mature readers. It's definitely explicit. It's just like, if you like BL, especially if you like Yakuza BL, and you haven't read Jealousy, I'd recommend it. That's all I'm saying on that one. Next up, we have Camui. Camui is complete at 11 volumes. However, Broccoli Books didn't get to completely printing them all, so I had to finish it online, unfortunately. I have 9 out of 11. That's hard to say, like 10 could have been printed, but I couldn't find it anywhere, so theoretically they only printed 1 through 9, but I don't know for sure. Anyway, so I bought these off eBay for like 30 bucks. It was a good deal, and I don't know, the art, the covers, like it just drew me in. Like, I was like, this is an old series I've never heard anything about, and I'm intrigued. Anyway, so I did read the last 2 online. The scanlations I found were not great, so my enjoyment of the last 2 volumes was questionable at best. No shade to whoever translated them. At least I got to get the gist of the ending and stuff. And in no way did I think that if they were translated well, it would bump up Camui in any way, really. It would safely fall into the enjoyable, but overall just okay category. I enjoyed my time with it, surprisingly. It gripped me, and I was intrigued, and I kept reading it. I pretty much read it, I think, just in like 2 days, I think. I read most of it in one night. I know that much, because I was just, I don't know, I was just in the right mood, and that was great. So I read it really fast. It gave me like vibes similar to 07 Ghost, only weaker execution, I guess. But it had a lot of, I don't know, atmosphere or just the general vibes of 07 Ghost, which I really, really enjoy 07 Ghost. 07 Ghost would be in my 100% recommended, and we'll read again. But this is like, while I was reading it, I kept kind of comparing it a little bit in my mind, not in like a bad way, just like this vibe, this style reminds me of it. It's just like not as good, but I still had an enjoyable time with it. Next up, we have Donuts Under the Crescent Moon, a Yuri title I picked up and started this June, and is complete in 4 volumes, which I quickly collected the rest of it after reading the first 2 volumes and finished, and I just really loved it. Like, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's just really sweet and really wholesome and adorbs. And yeah, if you just want like a sweet, adorable workplace romance, and it's just, yeah, it's just really cute. I loved it so much. I 100% will reread this one, 100%. Like, when I want just a dose of short, sweet Yuri, I'm gonna pick this one up again at some point for sure. And then next we have Fake. It's complete at 7 volumes, and I read this like as a buddy read with Bizarre Individual and Katie and some other people, and did like a live chatting about it, which was fun, like a little yaoi talk. Is that what Bizarre Individual calls it? I don't know. It's on his channel though, so go give him a follow. But it was really fun, and I liked our chat about Fake. However, Fake itself, I wanted to like it. It's another older yaoi, and it just dragged for me a little bit. I didn't dislike our main 2 characters. I think it was just the writing style or the pacing or the way that it was structured, but it just kind of bored me. Like, there wasn't anything amazing about it. Like, once I got past like the 2nd volume, I got a little bit more into it, and I don't think it's necessarily not worth your time. It's just very much a slow burn, and a very slowly paced slow burn. I don't know. I generously put it in the enjoyed but overall just okay category. And I honestly think I enjoyed it more because of the chat than because of the actual manga. Because if I had just read it on my own, it might have been in the skip it. But as like near the end, like the last 3 volumes, I'd say I was enjoying myself. But to get to those 3 volumes, why did it have to be such a slog? Like, ugh. Oh well. But it wasn't terrible. A little outdated here and there, and a little dragging, but not bad. Not like the next read on here, which is Ghost Diary, complete at 3 volumes. Honestly, Ghost Diary was an easy read for me, but overall, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I can't say anything other than to just skip it. It's not worth your time. Like, the art's nice. There is a good story idea. It's just that for whatever reason, the mangaka chose to really focus and accentuate and highlight the worst parts, in my opinion, they could have focused on in this story. Like, it could have been just a nice little occult club that does like little investigations into the like occult and mysteries and stuff. I'm all for that. But no, ending just could not save it. It didn't even try. If anything, the ending made me the most pissed off, because I sat through 3 volumes of incest adjacent weirdness for that. Like, that's how we're ending it. Okay. But yeah, I don't recommend it. I'm unhauling that one. Oh, I unhauled Love of Bonds and Reasons. The BL one. I unhauled that one too. The title won't even stick in my noggin because of how disappointed and annoyed I am at that one. Needless to say, almost everyone in the skip it category I'm unhauling, except for one. We'll get there. So after that low, we have a high with Let's Do It Already. So technically, Let's Do It Already has not finished its publication in America. It is, I think, volume 3 is coming out soon. I have the first 2 volumes in print anyway. However, after reading volume 1, and this is why it's going where it's going, after reading volume 1, I found it online and I read all 9 volumes. And I really, really liked it. It is 100% a reread for me. When I collect all the physical copies, like, I'll reread the physical volumes again at some point because it's just that cute. Like, I loved it. I loved it. It's very hokey, very cheesy, very shoujo. Okay, so if you don't like shoujo, you might not like it. But I grew up with shoujo, and surprisingly, am very picky about shoujo, and this one just hit for me. I haven't loved a non-fantasy related shoujo in such a long time, and it's definitely a lot more cute and wholesome and not at all spicy as the title may lead you to believe. Very rom-com. I had a fun time with it. And we have Phantom Tales of the Night. I read this one just this past October for spooky season, and I was really drawn into it. It has great art, very stylized, like gives a very good atmosphere as I read. I just felt like either it was missing something or I was missing something. There was just a bit of a disconnect by the end. I felt like the ending left me wanting more, but I didn't necessarily think it failed or disappointed in any specific regards. Just left me with a little bit of dissatisfaction for some reason. I can't quite pin it down. This is me trying to pin it down for some reason. But though I rated each volume individually very high because I felt that each volume was really good, as a series as a whole, I would just put it in the super solid category and is complete at 12 volumes. So that's a decent amount. Didn't drag on too long, and I was really, like I said, invested all the way through. I just felt a little let down by the ending, a little dissatisfied. Just something about it didn't pull everything all together as perfectly as I would have liked. Next up, we have Princess. Yeah, I don't know. I just felt the need to say it that way. But this is complete at 5 volumes plus the spin-off called Princess Plus, which I also read. But yeah, this one is a shonen ai, so there's like, you could ship some of the guys together quite easily. I did all the way through reading it. They are so cute together. I don't remember their names, but the two that room together, that we are the main focus of the princesses. But yeah, this weird school that is all boys, and they have a tradition of picking the pretty guys that are freshmen to be the princesses, which are basically just cross-dressers. They dress them up in dresses to entertain the other boys. No, they don't do anything untoward or anything. It's just purely like do little performances and meet and greets. Very wholesome, very, very nothing like. I said that in a way that could be misleading, but it was really cute. It's a kind of nothing story. It's like a story about nothing. That is the story. Like I said, that's the premise, and just about these boys opening up to each other. And yeah, I had a fun time with this. I would say it's super solid. It belongs in the A tier for me. I just like the boys, and I had a nice time with it. It's a little dated. It's a little on the older side for sure, but it's still held up for the most part for me. And after that, we have After Hours. This is a short 3-volume Yuri that I read in June, and I was very, very disappointed with. After Bonds of Dreams, Bonds of Love, whatever, that BL one, this one is the other one that like disappointed me the most, because this one started off pretty strong. Like, I was like okay with volume 1. I was like, yeah, I'm not loving the girls, but I'm okay with them. Volume 2, I really enjoyed. I was like, oh, it's picking up. I'm liking the girls more. I like their relationship. I like them individually. And then volume 3 went, let me just shit on the entire like arc that was happening on this whole relationship pretty much. I mean, it's not the worst ending in the world, but it's close. It's very disappointing. It's very like, why did we go in this direction? That's all I'll say about that. I rant more about it in this video here. you want to hear some ranting. I don't know if I go into the spoilers or not. I can't remember anymore. But yeah, I just, oh my God, I was, yeah. Oh, and anyway, it goes in the bottom tier. Skip. It's not worth it. It's not. Like, I don't know. If you did like it, I'm glad. But I just, it angered me because I was disappointed in how it could have been really good. Could have been pretty solid Yuri. Just, why? Why did they choose that direction? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not the mangaka. I don't know why, but I wasn't happy with the direction. Anyway, the next Yuri, I also talk about in that video. And it is a 2 omnibus volume Girlfriends. So this is quite old, it's very dated Yuri. They got like flip phones and it's very early 2000s. A lot of talk about diets and being skinny and stuff. It's kind of annoying. I have kept it for now, technically, but I still, after a little deliberation, feel that it goes in the skip it tier. It's not worth your time. There are more up-to-date Yuri that tread the same or very similar ground as this one. High school friends to lovers, popular girl and shy, timid girl. There's a few I've already read or started at least that are very similar to this one, and they don't harp on harming things like diet culture. I don't think we need to go back to really necessarily. And the art is just okay. It's nice because I like early 2000s art because that's when I started reading manga. So it's nostalgic to me. But other than that, it's not standout. It's not amazing. Unless you really love Yuri and you want like a more classic Yuri, go for it. Like I said, this is the outlier for me. This is the one I kept, but I don't think is worth people's time. Like I wouldn't say run out and get this to read. I would say there's other Yuris that are better suited to your time. But if you love this one, again, especially for nostalgic reasons, I totally understand. I didn't think it was bad. So this one could go into the enjoyed, but overall just okay category. This one was very close in between those two, but yeah. We're coming to the end, don't worry guys. But we have a couple more. This is one of the longer series I read, and that is Children of the Whales. So I obviously collected this as a cover buy, first and foremost. These covers are immaculate. And I also really liked the first season of the anime. It was just very intriguing, dramatic, and dark. It took a real turn, like I think within the first episode, if not the second episode. It's definitely within the first volume that it takes this dark turn. So it hooked me, but I knew it was one I wanted to read all together. And if you have collected Children of the Whales and haven't read it yet, or you want to collect it, I would suggest reading it all together. The 23 volumes of it, like, you know, obviously you don't have to binge read it, but if you have them all and you can read them at a more like regular pace, it will do you better because there is a lot of characters, a lot of things going on, a lot of nations and crazy fantasy worlds to try and remember what is what. And then as we get on into the series, we get some time shenanigans, and then it gets even more confusing because you're like, oh, where was this and what does that have to relate to this? And then remembering all the pieces that go back together. Okay, anyway, it caused my brain a bit of gymnastics, and I was reading it one volume right after the other. So yeah, it could just be me. It could just be me. But that's how I would recommend reading this one. I'm placing Children of the Whales in the super solid category. Same reasons as Phantom Tales of the Night. Each volume was a 5-star volume to me. Personally, I enjoyed them. Probably at least half of the volumes of Children of the Whales made me cry. It hit me emotionally like a gut punch a lot of times. However, I feel like that diminished as the story went on, and it added more and more things like the time things and stuff. And I'm usually all for time shenanigans. I'm a time shenanigan girl. However, I just kind of feel like since there was already so much going on, it wasn't really like necessary, or like, I don't know. Again, It's one that the individual volumes I thought were really great. I really liked the story concepts and the world building, and everything was so interesting and captivating. But again, the story as a whole, the series, having reached the end of it, just felt a little like I was missing something. I just felt like a little unsatisfied. Again, like Phantom Tales of the Night, I can't quite put my finger on why. Everything, you know, played out fine. Like, it was fine. Like, nothing felt plot holy or like egregious in any way. It just didn't fully 100% satisfy me. So that's why it's not 100% will reread. I might reread it, but I also think overall each volume was super solid, and I really enjoyed returning to the series and reading the next volume and revisiting these characters, and was really invested in the ride. So that's why I'm putting it in this tier. But yeah, let's go to a more straightforward one. Kino's Journey. This is completed 8 volumes. And the light novel, oh my god, it has more than 8 volumes, I'll tell you that. Sadly, only the first volume got printed here, and that was my first and pretty much last light novel experience. I read that first light novel, I fell in love with that freaking light novel, and then you know what they did? You know what Tokyo Pop did to me? They never printed another volume again. And now I hate all light novels. No, I'm just kidding. I am babbling. The point is, Kino's Journey has no real ending, and where it chooses to end is the stupidest fucking possible point it could have ended, kind of like JK Haru. So guess where it's gonna end up? Yep, it's gonna end up in the enjoyed but overall just okay category. Because what the actual fuck? Why do you do that to me? In this case, especially, I think that it got canceled because it had a lot more source material it could have gone off of, unlike JK Haru, which I know only has 1 major light novel, but then someone told me there are spin-off light novels. So you never know, the manga could come back and give me a satisfying ending, and then I will reassess. But anyway, with Kino's Journey, it definitely had more source material could have pulled from, so they just axed it, or they, you know, or the mangaka couldn't work on it anymore, whatever the reasons, which is disappointing, because overall I was enjoying it. I don't think it's as good as the light novel. You, for some reason, just don't, at least for me, didn't get quite as sucked in as I did with the light novel, but I still really liked seeing more of Kino's Journey with Hermes and talking motorcycle. And it's just like a nice like slice of life adventure, dark and twisted, because of some of these kingdoms she visits are very dark and twisty, but just very episodic in its nature, but enjoyable overall. But it just ends at such a moment. It just yeah, it's not great. 8 volumes that ends, and it could have ended again like at the 7th volume. I think would have been a better ending point, but just like JK Haru all over again. Next up we have Madk, or Madk. I don't know, I always enunciate each letter, but I don't know which way you're supposed to do it. And this is only a 3 volume. I hesitate to say BL after having read it. It's certainly a story. Dark and twisty, a little horrifying and weird and really good. But I'm not 100% sold. There's sometimes when I can really love a dark series like The Horizon, and there's other time where, especially when I go in it wanting romance, because I think it's a BL. I mean, not that it doesn't have some BL aspects to it. However, because I wanted romance and I didn't really attain romance from Madk, it's just going in the super solid category for me. Very dark, very twisted, and like, I think it's great. Like, I think the art's great. I think it's overall it's just really solid story. I went in with the wrong expectations. Let's just leave it at that, I guess. And I don't necessarily like I'm punishing it, but kind of. Next we have Flowers of Evil at 11 volumes, and I had started this at one point, honestly. I couldn't collect the last 2 volumes, and then I had to end up buying the new omnibus editions, which It's an eyesore. I absolutely hate it, by the way. Thanks, Vertical, for that. But I was collecting the single volumes, and then the last two were really hard to find, or at least one of the last two were, and so I got the last omnibus when they came out. So it was like a while between starting it and then collecting all the volumes, and needless to say, I didn't actually completely read it all the way through until this year. And I buddy read it with a friend, and it was really good. Like, I started off going, yeah, I remember this. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's like coming of age, but really make it really dark, like really dark and weird, and a little sexual. But reading it, especially like all together like that, I gained like a deeper appreciation for it, and I overall was blown away by how much it like touched me and how much I enjoyed it, and like how much I thought it was a really satisfying story. Like, yeah, 100% would read again. Not for a while. Again, it's a little darker. It still would take me a little while to pick it up again, but I 100% think it's really, really well done. Art's really good. Story's very messy, very psychologically dark and twisty, and yeah, it's a tough coming of age story. Especially if you were a kid that struggled in school or is struggling in school, that maybe like didn't have a, great school time, you didn't fit in, or you didn't, if there was an aspect of that, or your mental health, because it touches a lot on mental health, and a suicide trigger should be there as well. So, oh yeah. This one and A School Frozen in Time are both very centered around dark aspects of very psychologically compelling stories. This one is done slightly better than A School Frozen in Time, but I like them both. But yeah, that's going in the S tier, baby. Anyway, next up we have Gunbird Sisters. This one is just bodacious, ecchi, Yuri fun. It's just fun, okay? It's a little bit incomplete feeling. It's a little bit, it's a lot of it with the fan service actually, but it's a very fun time. It's just, anyway, I read volume 1 in June for my Yuri video. I surprisingly liked it a whole lot, so I collected the other 4 volumes, and I know logically I probably should put it in the enjoyed but overall just okay, because it's a little incomplete, because it definitely has a plot and there's action and stuff, but it's got a lot of gratuitous fan service and just all around just silly, ridiculous shenanigans going on as well. But I really, really like that, so I don't care. Again, it's my tier list and I'm bumping it up to super solid. I think it's just fun. It was fun. One of the funnest reads I read this year. I just had a smile on my face and, maybe a little bit of lust in my eyes as I was reading this one. Don't judge. No judging. This is a no judgment channel. But it was a good time. That's all I'll say. And last, one of my final reads for the year was Tree of Death, Yomotsuhegui. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I haven't since the beginning, and I probably pronounced it 3 different ways. So we're just calling it Tree of Death. And Tree of Death is complete at 3 volumes. I enjoyed my time with this one, but it didn't blow me away. I think it touches on some really interesting, again, dark psychological things to do with immortality. You can go check out my review with the first volume if you would like. It goes more into it, but I think the premise is really solid, really interesting. The art is really captivating. I mean, the covers what got me to pick it up in the first place. I was just immediately like, ooh, Cthulhu-ass weird darkness? Okay, let me jump on in that. But it wasn't altogether unsatisfying or disappointing. I just feel like it needed another volume or 2 to just breathe. Like, it had so much it was tackling. It had so much to say. And if it just could have could have taken its time a little more and just amped up things a little more and just tightened things up and revealed things and kind of got everyone on the same page, that it all shoved into that third volume. I mean, it was not bad. Like, it could have been way worse. A little rushed is pretty good for a 3-volume series that has so much lore and world building and fantasy elements to it. Like, it could have definitely been worse. I was overall pretty pleased with it. However, it's not one that I would like shout from the rooftops, you need to read this one. I bumped it down to enjoyed, but overall just okay. I think if any of those elements intrigue you, then you will have an enjoyable time with it, because I enjoyed my time with it. And I might revisit it someday, especially for that art, but it's very dark, very gruesome, very horrific. I find that very interesting. I find like the themes it brought up very interesting. And it was very tight between Super Solid and this category. I just knocked it down a little bit because I just really feel like if it had more time to breathe, I enjoyed it. I mean, I just picked up the 2nd and 3rd volume in November, and I already read it before my haul video. Like, I read volumes 2 and 3 in quick succession once I picked them up, and yeah, it's a dark, good time with it. It's kind of like J.K. Haru. I want it to be better. I believe in it so much. I think it could have definitely bumped up, just got let down by not having enough volumes in the series. Yeah, that'll do it. That is the tier list, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. I am curious if you agree or disagree with these final standings. I am shocked by how many S tier reads. Like, as I like document my like complete reads just for my edification, like I just like to know, I was seeing so many more 5 stars that I was giving them throughout the year than usual. Like, usual, I think I give like 3 to 5 stars, but this was double that. And I mean, I'm okay with that. The more great reads, the better, in my opinion. But it was a little bit of an unusual year. But I stand by it. I think all of these were really great reads, and I would, if I have the time, would definitely be rereading them again. And I mean, the category with the least amount of series in them is the skip it category. Is that because if I read the first volume and don't like it, I've just unhauled that series and don't have to bother reading the whole thing? That could be part of it. Yup. But I think it's still pretty good odds. I didn't have that many volumes that I had to suffer through. And like I said, Girlfriends wasn't really, should be in its own category, kind of off to the side. Like, yeah, it's okay. It's not terrible like the other 3, in my opinion. If you liked them, I'm happy. That they were just terrible to me. Does that sound any better? I don't know if that does. But anyway, let me know if you've read any of these, if your opinions match up with mine, or if you have differing opinions. I'd love to hear it in the comments. And yeah, this was a longer video, but thanks so much if you got to this point. Please do consider subscribing. My Christmas wish is to get to 1,500 subs. I don't know if we can get there, but it would be awesome if we could. So yeah, I appreciate everyone who has subscribed, and I'll see you this weekend for another installment in my 12 first volumes of Christmas video update reviews challenge thingy. Join if you would like. And next week, speaking of the skip series, I'm going to be talking about the worst of the worst that I read this year, the things and the volumes that I disliked the most. So yeah, if you like negativity, I hope you'll like negativity. But yeah, if you like a more negative view, I hope you'll tune in for that one. And again, if you subscribe and turn on notifications, you won't miss it. All right, I'm gonna peace out. Until next time, bye.